So Campaign Against the Arms Trade has done a lot of research. There's a report called A Shameful Relationship, which documents and researches the historic relationship between the British government and the Saudi government since going back to 1950s. So that's good to read. That I think has a lot of information. But the campaign now is doing several things. One, we ask people to write to their MP to put pressure on the government to stop. Right now there is a court case. The Campaign Against the Arms Trade has got a judicial review of the government's export licences for weapons to Saudi Arabia, and so this is a legal challenge to the government investigating whether they were right to sell weapons according to British law, and obviously we believe they weren't, but this is now being tested in the courts. And then the other thing that Campaign Against the Arms Trade supports groups of activists and campaigners to make demonstrations outside of factories where the missiles and the Eurofighter jets that are sold to Saudi Arabia, where they are made. And there is there are two factories and one airbase up here near Bolton in Lancashire, and there's also a factory down in North Hertfordshire. And there have been big demonstrations outside the one in North Hertfordshire because some of the weapons were also used to bomb Syria. So last year a group called Sisters Against the Arms Trade, a women's group, in solidarity with women in Syria who were asking for humanitarian aid, no more bombing, some British women took action and blockaded that factory, closed it for one day. So we, at Campaigns Against the Arms Trade, we encourage this kind of action. We provide information resources to activists so they can go and take this kind of action. Yeah. And we hope that all of these efforts together will result in an end to sales of weapons to Saudi Arabia.
Was this, British government, so that's basically taxpayers' money, was paying enormous bribes to the Saudi royal family, essentially, and I think it was it still Tony Blair? Anyway, our government managed to shut down, any repercussions, but I wondered if that kind of thing's still going on because it's made out that Britain's making all this money, but there's enormous subsidies from the British taxpayer going to the arms industry, which are known about, and then there's possibly enormous bribes that we don't know about.
So we can say actually we are in solidarity with the people who are being bombed. That's our connection.
I don't think we should avoid the workforce, and certainly demonstrations outside like the one that the women did, I think are important. I don't necessarily think that the way to end the arms trade is necessarily through those workers at that particular factory. I do think specific arguments on the Saudi Arabia, and I believe that Corbyn has floated the idea recently that while the bombing of Yemen and so on is going on, that we shouldn't be selling arms to Saudi Arabia, and I think that's absolutely right.
Yes,
so in terms of law, so...
No, how many people have been killed in the conflict?
I do find that a better argument than maybe selling heroin in central Manchester, which may be more profitable.
Before about the gentleman mentioned about the famine in the Yemen, and that, as he rightly said, is to do with a Saudi blockade of not just of weapons, but of food, of any ships at all, which means that aid agencies reckoned that every 10 minutes a child under 5 in Yemen dies of preventable causes, but they just can't be reached or the equipment isn't there to save it. And as Claire said, the number of young people who's in that country, that is a fantastic amount of people that are suffering as a direct result of the blockade, as a direct result of arms supplied by Britain.
That's what we've been giving out. It's quite simple, really. The large payments received and jobs involved do not justify supporting and aiding crimes against humanity.
Now that concerned me to see that photograph of Chris Green and Yasmin Quresh. But what, looking on another link, I also saw what the Cutacre stroke Over Hulton, what that estate's going to. It's going to encompass a purpose-built country park next to a factory that is making parts of or killing machines. This seems ironic to me, a country park for families and killing machines to destroy and maim and kill families.
Take on the arms trade. When BA Systems was headquartered, or one of the leading firms was in Farnworth, we actually leafleted them, I remember Margaret Johnson's, for instance, putting leaflets on the windscreen of every car in the car park. So I would suggest that at our next meeting...
Your Saudis? Yeah. Oh, well, that would be wonderful. You can come along because you'll have, you can give us a few more insights. Yeah.